Hello, I'm Jim Tompkins, the CEO of Tompkins International, a supply chain consulting and implementation firm. I'm glad you're watching this video, Facing the Titans. I have some very startling information for you today. This video is for retailers, consumer packaged goods manufacturers, and distributors. And so these three groups need to understand how to face the Titans and how to respond. The Titans, Amazon and Walmart, are doing an awesome job on growing their business. And they are transforming the way the marketplace functions. They are innovating the way their supply chain functions and how they are responding to the needs of the customer. And they are creating tremendous disruptions, which are forcing all of us to play catch up. And then lastly, they are on the offensive. They are creating benefits for their customers at such a rate that we are all playing at a disadvantage. I believe it's extremely interesting to look at U.S. retail sales. This chart presents, first of all, the total of U.S. retail sales, where on the red line we go from $4.3 trillion in year 2012 to $5.8 trillion in year 2022. The second line, which is the green line, shows us the total online sales, where it goes in 2012 from $224 billion to $1.4 trillion. The third line shows us the Amazon and the Walmart in-store sales, and this is the blue line, and that goes from $268 billion in year 2012 up to $984 billion in year 2022. And so the most important line on this chart is the purple line, and that's the in-store sales minus all online sales and minus the Amazon and Walmart in-store sales. This line begins at $3.9 trillion in year 2012 and basically remains flat. It gets up to about $4 trillion in 2017, but it then in 2019 starts to head downward, and it actually falls down to $3.5 trillion in year 2022. And so what we're seeing is that in-store sales is falling. In-store sales is about at peak now. It's going to be flat for the next 3 or 4 years, and then it's going to go downwards. And so if what we're doing is we're relying on our in-store sales, we have a real problem, and we need to face these titans. The second fact has to do with what's the impact of online sales. Some people say it's only 7 or 8%. What's the big deal? Why are we so concerned about it? Well, the fact is it's not about how much you sell online, it's what's the impact of online. In fact, if we look at year 2012, 50% of all sales are influenced by online and web and internet and social and e-commerce. And this number is going up to, in year 2022, it's going to be 65% of the total sales will be influenced by e-commerce. In addition to that, if we look at the acquisition of new customers, what we see is, for example, at Nordstrom, they say 83% of our new customers have first visited it online before they've come to the store. So the influence of online is huge for all retailers. The third interesting fact has to do, I talked about distributors. Well, if we look at B2B versus B2C, we see in year 2013, B2C sales is 1/2 of B2B sales. And so B2B is really a big gorilla in the room, and we need to comprehend that and respond. And so online sales in B2B are huge, and in fact, not only are they twice as big, they're even growing faster. The last fact I want to share with you is the impact of consumer packaged goods and what they're doing with respect to online sales. In 2012, 24% of CPG manufacturers sold product directly to the customer. In 2013, that number was greater than 40%. In 2014, that number is greater than 50%. And so what we're seeing is a tremendous growth in CPG companies going direct to customer online. And so I said that the Titans are on the offensive. I don't believe we can do a counterattack and be successful. We need to up it, and we need to do a counteroffensive, where a counteroffensive is defined as an attack against an attacking force. So they're attacking us, and so we're going to attack them back. It is an attack by a company that has been defending a position. So we've been defending a position, but we haven't been attacking. And then the third definition, the one I really like, is a counteroffensive is a large-scale offensive undertaken by a defending company to seize the initiative from the attacking company. And so we're going to go after them. We're not going to just sit back and try to respond. We are going to attack back. And so the question becomes, what are the offensives that they have been taking that we need to respond to? Well, I can't cover what they've really been doing in total because, every day Amazon, there's 3 or 4 things that they're doing. Every day Walmart, there's 2 or 3 things they're doing. So there's a lot going on. But just to give you a flavor for this, over the last 4 or 5 months, here's 18 things that Amazon has done that I'm not going to talk about. But it's an interesting list, and you need to understand those as well. In a similar way, here's 18 things over the last 6 months that Walmart has done that we're not going to talk about either. And so what I've done is I've selected one of the biggies for Amazon and one of the biggies for Walmart, and that's the offensive that we need to talk about so that we can decide what is your counter-offense to allow you to face the Titans. So let me pick out one for Amazon that's huge. And this is going to seem unusual to you because I'm going to talk about Amazon Fresh. And you see, why talk about Amazon Fresh? We're not in the grocery business. That's a business Bezos started 7 years ago in Seattle. He's invested billions of dollars in Amazon Fresh. He's bought the Webvan name. He's got the executives from Webvan. He even invested $775 million in Kiva, which was the solution for Webvan. But in the United States, you can't make money in home delivery of groceries. It's just not enough margin to allow you to deliver. But what you can hope for is if you have a very high density of delivery and you have some pretty good volume, what you can do is you can break even. And so that's what Bezos is trying to do. Now, how does this make sense? Well, what he's trying to do, first of all, is get this high density. 2 things to do to get high density. Number one, you go where a lot of people live, and that's by looking at the metropolitan statistical areas. And if we look at this chart, what we see is the top 10% of the metropolitan statistical areas is 27% of the U.S. population. At 30, the top 30, you get 45% of the population, and the top 39 metropolitan statistical areas is 50% of the population of the United States. And so what Bezos is going to do, he's going to go after those top 40 or 39 metropolitan statistical areas because that's where the people live. And then what he's going to do is he's going to make sure he gets high volume by him unleashing his magic weapon. And what is his magic weapon? It's Prime. Because what he's done, he's now introduced in Los Angeles Amazon Fresh Prime. And for $299 a year, you can get unlimited number of groceries delivered to your home. And it's same-day delivery. And so Bezos has that. In by 8 at night, delivered by 6 in the morning. He's going to come to your home with a frequency, probably 2 to 3 times a week, and he's going to be in your home. Now you say, but why is he doing this if at best he can do is break even? Well, it's because he has now his own transportation service that is local, that is delivering to the home, and it's going to be in the home frequently, and you've paid $299 a year for the membership, and so now you're going to want to use that membership. And what Bezos has done in Los Angeles, he said, oh, by the way, you can buy up to 500,000 different general merchandise items that can get delivered with your groceries. So here comes your orange juice, your pork chops, your paper towel, and oh, by the way, you can throw a camera, you can throw a hat, you can throw a shirt on the top of it, no shipping. But what Bezos has done, he now has free shipping to your home with high frequency that's going to allow him to make his full margin on the general merchandise items. He's an absolute genius, and this is awesome. When he rolls this out to the top 40 metropolitan statistical areas in the country, he's going to have 50% of the country where he, on his own trucks, can deliver product to the customer at no cost to him. An amazing, very, very disruptive thing that Amazon has done. So what's Walmart been doing? First of all, they've really woke up with respect to Walmart Online. And they're doing an awesome job. And since they've created the Walmart Labs out in the Silicon Valley, they've been extremely innovative in social and on e-commerce and in mobile, and they're really doing cool things there. But Walmart understands that it's not just being online, and in fact, their biggest advantage is omnichannel, where they take the power of online and the power of the stores, and they combine that. And so that's what they're doing. They call it click and collect. Now think about this. 67% of all the Americans live within 5 miles of a Walmart. And so what they're doing is they're combining their fulfillment centers with their distribution centers, and every day Walmart goes to every store. And so the truck that's going there with the distribution items that are going to be sold from the store floor, you take that same truck and you put the fulfillment orders that are going to that store as well. And now the consumer has 3 choices. You can click and collect, you can go to the store and you can collect that item. You can go to the store and you can take it out of a locker, or you can have a delivery with a local courier to go from the Walmart to your home and have it delivered to home. And so what we find is they really have understood how to leverage the power of their store and to have the ability to bring the product close to you. And so what we see is an awesome capability of Walmart using Omnichannel and an awesome capability of Amazon allowing themselves to have same-day delivery for virtually no cost. And so the question is, how are we going to face these titans? Now, this is not a simple question. There's no magic solution as to how we're going to solve this problem. And in fact, each company has to have a unique solution because we need to understand, what is our target customer? What do they want? What is our strategy? What is our present status? We need to understand where we are, and then what we need to do is develop a unique counteroffensive to face the titans. And so I can't tell you what your answer is, but I can tell you 5 elements of a counteroffensive that oftentimes we're seeing having a major impact on how companies can face the titans. We can break these 5 into 2 categories. The first category is market-facing or customer-facing. And here we're talking about, what do we do with omnichannel? What do we do about store fulfillment? And what do we do about same-day delivery? The second category isn't facing on the customer, it's facing towards, what are we doing about our supply chain? And so what we need to do is to have the capability of having excellence in planning execution, and we need to understand what is the impact of demand-driven value networks, and how do we make our supply chain really agile, really responsive, and really capable of meeting the requirements of the customer at a minimal cost. So the first counteroffensive is the omnichannel. Let me show you a picture of the omnichannel. Now you look at this and say, oh my goodness, this is really complex. Well, you're right, it really is. You should see the technology of the omnichannel. It is even more complex. But the reality is the omnichannel is complex, and you can't simplify it because the very nature of what we're doing is complex. The reality is the omnichannel affects your processes, it affects your organization, and it affects your technology. It's pervasive. It changes the way you do business. Now, the problem with that is a misunderstanding as to what omnichannel is. Some people think there's single channel and omnichannel. That's not true. There's single channel, there's multi-channel, there's cross-channel, and there's omnichannel. Omnichannel is what we need to do to really create the customer experience that's going to allow them to really capture what we're trying to do. The omnichannel needs to be channel agnostic. The omni-channel needs to allow for the integration of the customer touch points to allow a seamless experience. The omni-channel needs to be able to be customized for the personal interest of the specific customer. The omni-channel provides for a more relevant, consistent experience across all brands. It provides uniformity to the customer experience. And all retailers, all CPG companies, and all distribution companies need to really grasp how do we have an omni-channel experience that is really focused on delighting that customer. The second counteroffensive is store fulfillment. Now, store fulfillment doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be picking the orders from the shelves of the store. In fact, most of the time, that's not going to be the answer. Now, if you're in the fashion business and your fulfillment center and your distribution center are out of product, sure, it's fine. Go pick the product, save the sale by picking it from the store floor. But much more frequently, what we need to be doing is picking the order in the fulfillment center, delivering the product from the fulfillment center to the store, and then going from the store to the customer's home or allowing the customer to come to the store and pick the product up. Store fulfillment is a portion of all brick and mortar retailers. We really need to focus on this because when we really grasp store fulfillment, it changes the entire supply chain. It changes how we do DCs, how we do FCs, how we do transportation to the store, and then how we do transportation from the store to the consumer's home. So store fulfillment is a major counteroffensive that brick and mortar retailers need to understand. The third counteroffensive has to do with the speed of delivery. Now, a lot of folks have a misunderstanding of this because they want to ask the question, well, what's the customer willing to pay for same-day delivery? Well, the research on that is very clear. People aren't willing to pay much at all. But that's not the real question. The question is, if the delivery is free, would you accept or do you like same-day delivery? The answer is absolutely yes. And so with the speed at which Amazon and Walmart are delivering, what we see is that we need to deliver quickly. Now, as we saw with Amazon and as we saw with Walmart, there's different stratification of what people expect. I believe in the top 40 metropolitan statistical areas that they're going to expect that 50% of the U.S. population, they're going to expect same-day delivery. For the next 17% of the population, which is the next 60 metropolitan statistical areas, they're going to expect next-day delivery. And then for the people that don't live in the top 100 metropolitan statistical areas, they're going to be perfectly fine with two-day delivery. So the people that live in Wyoming, they know they live in Wyoming, and so they don't expect same-day delivery, and so it's perfectly acceptable to give them two-day delivery. Now, this type of transportation that we provide to do same day, next day, and two-day delivery is going to be different. And what we need to do is we need to look at our distribution network, and we need to look at our DCs and our FCs, and we need to look at the type of transportation we're using. We don't need a nationwide carrier. What we do need is local and regional carriers, and what we can find is that these folks can deliver product for 25–30% less than what we can get from UPS and Federal Express. And so there's a real interesting issue with respect to defining the categories, same day, next day, 2 days, and then understanding how do we design our network and how do we select the transportation providers to make that most cost effective. The last two counteroffenses have to do with the agility, the responsiveness, the ability of the supply chain to support the customer's requirements. And just like we saw with omni-channel and store fulfillment and same-day delivery, they have huge implications on how the total supply chain works, and they require cultural and paradigm shifts to really become real and a portion of the counteroffensive. The same here when we're talking about the synchronization of planning execution. In most organizations, you have planning here and you have execution here. And so we talk about planning and execution. What we need to do to truly be responsive and agile in our supply chain is we need to take the word "and" out of the sentence and not talk about planning and execution, but instead talk about the continuum of planning execution. And so if we look at my chart here, we see we begin with a multi-year strategic plan, and that is the big picture of what we're trying to accomplish. And then within that, we have an annual operating plan. And within that operating plan, we then have a monthly S&OP, or for retailers, we're now calling it MIOE, Merchandising, Inventory, and Operations Excellence Plan. That's monthly. And then that monthly plan turns into some daily planning activities, which are replenishment and open to buy. But those activities are not only plans, they are execution. And so those 4 steps of the strategic plan, the annual operating plan, the S&OP plan, and then the daily replenishment and open to buy, those are what we call together a demand-driven integrated business plan, an IBP. And so that IBP is what some people think is the state of the art. I don't agree. I think we got to go one step further, and that I want to go below that daily replenishment and open to buy plan and execution, and I want to continuously plan and execute at the same time. So the planning and the execution becomes a continuous driven synchronization where we resync every time new demand events occur. And that provides us the feedback loop, which then goes back into the top of the strategic plan, where we're looking at planned and unplanned events and the impact that has on the strategic plan, which then impacts the annual operating plan, which affects the S&OP, which affects the replenishment and open to buy, which then affects how we execute in every 10, 15 minutes in a real-time mode. Now we have a supply chain that is really agile, really responsive, and is really quick. And it's a critical counteroffensive move that retailers, consumer products, goods companies, and distributors can make to allow themselves to better meet the customer's requirements at a lower cost. The last counteroffensive is the demand-driven value network. And here what we're looking at is something that we have whole videos on, so I'm not going to give a long presentation on this, but on our YouTube site we have videos on demand-driven supply chain, and you can go there and check that out. But I do want to make a couple important points. First of all, a supply chain is a network. It's a community. And what we need that community to do is to function like one based upon the pull of the consumer. And so the consumer pulls the product through the supply chain. And so we almost have a sell one, buy one, make one mentality, and we have a flow of goods through the supply chain. And the flow is based upon the drumbeat of the customer. So the entire chain is listening to that drumbeat and responding to the consumer. And so what we have, it's not about your company versus your competition, it's about your supply chain that's being pulled in response to the consumer's requirements versus your competition's supply chain. And so we need to really grasp that and understand how to leverage the demand-driven value network in your advantage. My second point is that the demand-driven value network needs to have as a goal the ability to address demand variability, supply variability, lead time variability, and the constraints on our capacity. If we can do that and manage those variabilities and that capacity, we then have the ability to flow the product to the consumer with a minimum of inventory while providing a maximum on-shelf capability. This is a counteroffensive weapon that we need to apply to allow us to face the titans. And so the demand-driven value network allows us to optimize our omnichannel, to optimize our store fulfillment, to optimize our same-day delivery. It enables the order management system and the orchestration, which is going to allow us to position our inventory in a way to allow the customer to truly pull and us to respond. The demand-driven value network is an awesome counteroffensive and allows us with less inventory to respond with greater customer satisfaction and greater revenue. So those are the 5 elements of the counteroffensive. Each company needs to take these and shape them into a strategy and an action plan that uniquely meets the requirements and the requirements of their customers. I have additional resources for you that I think might help you with your journey as you face the Titans. Share this video with your coworkers. Share this video with your leadership. I wish you continued success.